Disclaimer, this video covers disturbing themes from the game Coffin of Andy and Leyley, including abuse, violence, trauma, and fictional depiction of incest. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. The content discussed is entirely fictional and meant for critique and analysis. Nothing in this video is intended to glorify or promote the acts depicted in this game. If you're sensitive to graphic content or uncomfortable topics, consider skipping this one. Coffin of Andy and Leyley has been called everything from a psychological horror to a gratuitous exploitation piece, but how much of a controversy is deserved? Released on March 25th, 2023, developed by Leyley and published by Kit9, the game originated as a demo released on itch.io and was later expanded and released on Steam in an early access state. Despite all the negativity online, the game has overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam, which is surprisingly to hear. So what exactly makes the game so controversial? Let me summarize the key story for you first. The story follows Leyley, Ashley, and Andrew trapped in a decaying apartment complex ruled by abusive wardens who staff them, with Coffin metaphorically being their apartment. Their struggle for survival begins with Leyley scavenging a can of tomatoes from the trash, a small act that foreshadows a bleak journey ahead. After discovering their neighbor is a cultist trying to summon a demon, events spiral into violence. When a vision reveals a hitman will kill them in their sleep, they lure him to a park and murder him. From there, their actions grow darker, visiting their estranged parents under the guise of robbery, only to kill and cannibalize them, then disposing the remains, before targeting a nearby camping family to feed more souls to a demon. Ultimately, they enter the demon's realm to escape justice, where it's revealed that Andrew, like Leyley, has been a monster all along. So what exactly makes Coffin of Andy and Leyley so controversial? Well, there's one particular ending that tends to dominate the conversation, which is labelled the incest ending. In this non-canon route, which the player must intentionally seek out, the siblings' relationship takes a disturbing turn, leading them to engage in incest. That moment, despite being completely avoidable, is what most online discourse revolves around, and because it's so viscerally uncomfortable, especially in a game already drenched in violence and abuse. It's led many to dismiss the entire work as exploitative or even dangerous. But the game is more than some fetish work by some developer. It actually has a pretty solid story of an abusive family. All the hate from people just knowing about that one ending led to the creator of the game being doxxed and harassed by people. To top it all off, people even sent death threats, which both of the things are bad. And over the top reaction from people doing that, and no one should be getting death threats over a game. Despite of the game being so hated, it has overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam, and people who actually played the game like it. And what makes the game so great in my opinion is, the game is a horror game that isn't scary, but more twisted and psychological. From the murder and robbery, to even cannibalism of their own parents, it shows you two twisted, morally fucked people, with an abusive yet interesting dynamic, with a pretty good art style as well, and a pretty good soundtrack. And if you don't do the bad ending, the story is actually pretty good as well, and I would definitely recommend you guys to play it. So what actually makes the story so good? It's the characters. Andy and Leyley are both insane and complicated in their own ways, but it doesn't stop there. Even their parents and grandparents are written to be just as messed up. Nobody in the story comes across as normal, and when they do, it's quickly shattered. Sure, Andrew and Leyley's parents ain't out here killing people, but they were still garbage. They ignored Leyley, shoved her onto Andrew, and called it parenting. Shockingly, that didn't work out. Instead, it created an obsessive attachment, where Leyley basically treated Andrew like her entire world. And when you're a kid, that's one thing. But as she grew up, it turned into dependency that made her spiral the second Andrew tried talking to someone else. Leyley would snap. No girlfriend? No guy friends? Nothing. And that's the kind of screwed up foundation the whole game builds on. The horror doesn't just come from the murders and demons. It comes from watching people completely ruined by the people who were supposed to take care of them. Now, let's talk about Renee. Probably the worst excuse for a parent in this entire game. She's the one running the household, barking orders and basically outsourcing all her responsibilities onto Andrew. Because why would you actually raise your daughter when you can just make her brother do it for you? That's definitely not going to cause any long-term psychological damage, right? And then there's Douglas. Oh boy, Douglas is just there. This guy is the definition of dead weight. He stays quiet through everything, barely lifts a finger, and lets Renee make every decision for the family. The only glimpse we get of who he actually is comes from snooping around the house, where you find a wardrobe stuffed with ropes and sex toys. That's his contribution to the story. Not protecting his kids, not stepping in when things are falling apart, and honestly, I don't know what's worse, Rennie's parenting, or the fact if you type a name into Google, you're probably going to regret it. So yeah, Rennie's neglect and Douglas's passivity created the absolutely worst environment possible. Andrew was never supposed to be a father figure, but that's exactly what he was forced into. And it doesn't take a genius to see why it blew up in everyone's faces. When your big brother is the only real parent you have, it's basically a guarantee that things are going to go horribly wrong. So that brings us back to the original question. Is Coffin of Andy and Leyley really as controversial as people say? Honestly, it feels like most of the hate comes from people who only know about the optional ending and have never touched the game themselves. The story has way more going on than just that, and writing it off completely feels kinda lazy. But hey, that's just my take. What do you guys think? Does the game deserve all the hate, or is it getting judged way too harshly? Let me know down below. I want to hear some actual opinions from people who either played the game or are willing to look past the shock factor. And if this video does well, I'll keep going and cover the characters individually. And no, not just Andy and Leyley, everyone, even the ones you didn't think that mattered. Spoilers, they do. And if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe and comment, and let me know what you think of this game. And that's about it. See ya.